Christmas Day, 2014. One of the best days of my life. It developed much the same as it always did, with loud thumps and bangs coming from upstairs and the muffled sounds of voices humming softly through the ceiling as people came and went. "John, are you coming up for dinner?" my mother called down to me, a shaft of light beaming across the floor as the door opened. "Jesus, Mother, what the hell have I told you about coming in like that?" I shouted, appalled by her lack of manners and need for continual updates on my life. "Don't you remember what happened last time?" "Sorry, honey, but the family are here and we've set a plate out for you." "Bring it to me," I waved, turning my attention back to the computer. "Are you sure you don't want—" "Bring it to me," I said again placidly. She scuttered down the door, my bidding done, and returned a few moments later with a steaming and delicious plate of Christmas turkey, replete with many unnecessary trimmings. "This almost looks as nice as that one we had at Aunt Carol's," I said, casting my eyes over to her. "Are you sure you don't want to come upstairs, honey?" "Where's the cranberry sauce?" "Sorry, sweetie, I'll just go and get it." "How am I supposed to swallow this dry bird without the correct amount of lubrication?" I scoffed. "Right you are." "I am," I called after her, keen to assert this. I breathed in the smell as I set the plate down on my desk, the light from the monitor making it look more inviting than it had in the 40 Shades of Grey half-light. Apart from the sprouts, of course. The sprouts still look disgusting. Fuck the sprouts. Around me, half-written stories of my fantasies lay incomplete, hidden in my room like a fossil that would illuminate the world if only someone would take the time to uncover it. I thought myself a master. Nay, I was a master. One the world wasn't ready for. I'd show them. My mother returned with cranberry sauce in hand, feeling her way intricately down the stairs and squinting like some sort of animal that's prone to squinting. "Here you are, dear," she said, handing it to me. I turned to her and gave her a single slow nod, my cue for her to take her leave, and she duly obliged, scurrying back up the stairs like a frightened mouse. Bouts of intermittent laughter rang from above as I shoveled the dinner into my face, keen to take on the calories that could afford me but a few more hours of intellectual pursuits on my computer. Around an hour or so later, I heard a rap at the door above me. "Enter," I called. "John, are you down there?" "Yes, Father," I drawled. "We're opening the presents now if you want to come up and open yours." I sighed wearily. "I suppose so." "Great," Father called back. "He's coming out," he whispered back into the kitchen, but my bat-like hearing caught it all. "You don't have to act so surprised," I said, mounting the stairs while they creaked beneath me. Pressing through the door sidelong, I emerged to the blinding 40-watt light of the kitchen and quickly donned my incredibly expensive sunglasses. "Mother, Father, this is for you," I said, extending my hands and offering them a tinfoil-covered rectangle. "Wow, John, this is rare. We weren't expecting this," Mother chimed in pointlessly. I kept my hand outstretched, and after Father had relinquished their gift for me and mine, "Here you go, sweetie." It was much larger cuboid than the one I had given them, but it was concealed in a similar fashion. They had chosen to add some color to the wrapping, a decision I quietly resented them for. Father tore off the foil in several quick attempts, placing it on the table and holding the box up to his face. 8 GB DDR3 RAM. Father read, peering through his spectacles. "Yes, your computer is fast becoming insufferably slow," I said, my eyelids fluttering. "It took me a whole minute to load World of Legends earlier." "Oh," he said, as though I hadn't saved him around 8.8 hours of booting up time per annum. "Thank you, John." "You're welcome." My attention turned now to my own keyboard, my clammy hand squeezing the paper from the box and throwing it over my shoulder. "It's a toaster?" I said, turning the box over in circles and looking at Mother. "Well, yes, we thought when you get a job and moved out—" "Moved out?" I asked, incredulous. "Why would I move out?" "You can't stay with us forever, John," Father interjected. "I don't plan on staying forever, Father. Forever is an awfully long time. It's practically all of time. Of course I don't plan on staying forever." "But you'll be 30 this year, John," Mother said. So? I retorted, cutting them with my rapier wit. "Pussy Slayer _ 1975 is almost 40, and he still lives at home." "Well, I'm sure that's nice for him, but I don't think it's a good idea to see him as some sort of role model," the witch said. "Ha!" I laughed. "He's a level 200 paladin, Mother. If If I can't aspire to that, what the hell should I be striving for? A job, Father said. It was the most unbecoming. Father, I told you, I'm making $50 a month now. I'm an author. An author, he laughed. You published one book about fairies with large penises and you think you're an author? My eyes narrowed as I glared at him. Have you been going into the basement while I've been at katana classes? Look, John, we're only saying this because we love you. Love? You want to get rid of me because you love me? Well, that seems quite counterproductive, doesn't it? We just want what's best for you, dear, she said, attempting to make some kind of physical contact between her palm and my upper arm. This interaction is finished, I announced. I'll be in the basement if you want to insult me some more, I said, turning with my toaster under my arm and squeezing through the door. John, you don't... I closed the door behind them and descended into my office. Love, I muttered, laughing to myself. They don't know a thing about it. 400 hours building a 2-scale model of the Starship Enterprise in Minecraft. That's love. Not any of this emotion stuff. I sat down at my command center and spun the box between my dexterous hands. My fingers slid along the cardboard seam, flicking up the flap and prizing the box open. A toaster for Christmas. Best thing since sliced bread, I thought to myself. I half considered climbing up the stairs to say it aloud to Mother and Father, but it would be lost on them. I pulled it from its housing, casting off the plastic poppy wrapping and promising myself I'd eviscerate it later before turning my attention to the unit itself. It was sleek and white, so white that the walls behind the computer was briefly lit in the reflection, by the reflection of the monitor and the lines, they were so clean. My hands ran across its surface, feeling each expertly crafted ridge and marveling at the length of its cable. I bet you could put this thing a whole 5 feet away from the socket, I thought to myself, running the lead through my fingers and admiring the craftsmanship of whatever artist, human or otherwise, had designed this machine. Soon I was consumed by it, holding my precious in my hands and surprising myself as I stumbled upon more and more feats of exquisite engineering. Rubber stoppers to prevent it from sliding on the surface, a wide loading bay for that plumper slice, a 5-speed toasting dial for those that like a crisper wedge, a stop button for the indecisive. It was heaven.
What have a toaster?
God damn, there's so much. I felt that same familiar sensation that I'd had countless times before in this chair, as increasing bouts of blood were diverted from my main organs to my modest penis, my tumescence growing by the millimeter with each passing minute. My God, what are you doing to me? I called aloud, my cheeks flushed with red hue and my heart pounding with a speed that no amount of exercise could ever muster. I sat it down on the desk and tried to compose myself, but that harlot of a toaster just wouldn't quit. It was the first electrical appliance to ever command more of my attention than my computer, and that was something I could not deny or take lightly. I clasped my mouse and tried in vain to immerse myself in a digital world, but it was impossible. The toaster had me now. My eyes wandered over, caressing it with my gaze, and my tongue grasped involuntarily for my mouth to lick over my dry lips. The toaster seemed to look back, its metal tunneling, eyeing me invitingly and shining like the brightest star I'd ever seen on my interplanetary exploration simulator. Take me, it seemed to mouth. I'm yours. I looked behind me, knowing the room was empty, but also knowing to my cost and embarrassment that it was always wise to double check. The only thing that stared back at me were several used plates and a hillock of damp laundry. I was alone. We were alone. My hand reached out timidly like a novice electrician on his first job, stroking softly at the side of this beautiful machine and circling my finger around a wide slot. Stop teasing me, it said suddenly. Slide one in. I duly obliged, planting a plump finger deep down to its gaping hole, feeling the mesh of metal against my flesh and shivering at how cold it was. I'll have you warmed up in no time, I wheezed, placing another finger into the slot and pressing them down like I was testing the temperature of a pie. Suddenly, fingers were not enough. It demanded more. Despite my protest, it wouldn't quit, unceasingly begging me to peel my jeans from my waist and take it right there and then. I turned my webcam around from me. Another lesson learned there, and squeezed a hand down the non-existent gap between my waist and my stomach, desperately searching out my rigid stump. With one hand in the toaster and the other at my Mars bar-sized penis, I fantasized about what I was going to do to this filthy little machine and what she was going to do to me. Oh God, Morphe, what are you doing to me? I asked in desperation, my clammy palm wiping the sweat that had appeared at my brow. My hands fumbling at my button, summoning all the length I needed to pop open my slacks and release myself. As the correct pressure was applied, my jeans burst open and I peeled them off as far as necessary down my leg, keen not to waste any time or effort on a task that seemed to get harder by the week. Soon my sword was unsheathed, ready to conquer this promiscuous appliance and make Morphe mine at last. I was close to saying, I hope you give good bread, but thought it entirely inappropriate for our first moment of passion. Besides, I've read enough men's health articles to know that is absolutely not how you talk to a lady in the bedroom, plastic or otherwise. Tentatively, I picked her up, rolling her before me and admiring each and every one of her sumptuous curves. You certainly are well put together, I complimented, remembering step one of a piece I read only a week ago. With her in my arms, I felt more confident now and had yet to hear her protest about my adventurous digits. I slid several more inside her deep slots and pushed down on her sprung mechanism, her hole clamping tight over my hands as I did so, reluctant to release me. Morphe, you're an animal, I teased, slamming my hand deep into her with increasing speed and hearing the high-pitched squeak of pleasure strains from her. Love speaking. Yeah. Are you ready to accept my steed, fair maiden? I broached, wheezing hard with my effort. Yes, take me, John, she seemed to say, and without further encouragement, I brought her shakily to my waist, holding her gently in both my hands, trembling with anticipation and about to break her warranty. Gently, I pressed inside her, keen not to damage her with a girth that several of my clansmates had told me was completely in line with the national average, and it was perfectly normal, is what I'm saying. Soon, I was bucking at her tunnel like a rogue bull on a rodeo, the circled patches of sweat under my arm growing larger and larger with each sultry pump. Louder and louder she squeaked until I could scarcely hear anything else. The chatter of my friends' cries and world's legends all but drowned out in the background. Where are you, John? One of them said. We're going on a raid. I'm giving Morphe her the time of her existence, I thought, turning down my speakers and making our moment together more intimate. Just when I thought this sensuous contraption couldn't get any better, I noticed the lever at its side and seemed to call me. Hold me down, John, it said, unable to keep its eyes from my exhausted bulk. Do it. As my mouth gasped at the stuffy air, I knew I had to go that step further. Not that it wasn't amazing, but I knew I could be so much more. I just hoped to high heaven Morphe was into the kind of thing. Keeping my eye on her at all times, my fingers wandered along past her slots.
They shut off the air compressor. Maybe.
Okay. Keeping my eyes on her at all times, my fingers wandered along past her slot, over a plastic taint to that forbidden lever, and I circled over idly, ready to stop at a moment's protestation. But none came. She was loving it. Pressed on by adrenaline, or some kind of homicidal lust, I popped a sultry digit into my mouth, slathering it with turkey-flavored saliva, returning it to that unassuming, yet totally taboo, plastic appendage, teasing my fingertip over it and watching a Morphe squeal with inanimate delight. Gently I pressed downward, feeling her respond by clamping me tighter and tighter, as though the two were inexplicably linked. With each slow and deliberate millimeter I ventured, Morphe gripped me more and more intensely, until my phallus was bound on either side by what felt like wire meshing. It was heavenly. Oh God, Morphe, you're so tight, I breathed. I had once heard a man say it in real life female in a video I saw online. I had her lever all the way down and she took it like a pro, not once crying out in anything other than delight as I swayed in and out of her, my chestnut testicles pulling close to my hilt, now as an impending disgusting release of my love grew imminent. I'm close, Morphe, I said, my voice a shuddering mess of ecstasy. Do it inside me, she said. She didn't say, but I heard it nevertheless. I pounded her faster and faster now, my length almost completely decimated by her fine inner fibers, but my determination far outstripping the quite intense pain that I'd most certainly have to soothe with pseudo-cream once all of this was over. One or two delightfully tight pumps later, and the show was over. I held her still in both hands as my seed slithered reluctantly from my piss hole, dribbling down into her depth as I winced up to the ceiling, a conquering hero. When I was sure there was nothing left inside of me, I slid her from my shaft, placing her gently on the desk and reholstering myself in my soiled boxers. I sat down heavily at the command center, my chest rising on my stomach as I desperately tried to steady my heartbeat, despite what the doctors called a dangerously worrying lung capacity. At first I kept her by my monitor, but found myself unable to take my eyes off of her. All the time she seemed to be begging me to take her again, which I'd long thought would be the actual reaction of a female if I ever was allowed to touch one. For the sake of her feelings, in the advised recuperation period of my penis, I ended up stowing her in a drawer little out of effort's reach where I could call upon her whenever my sexual appetite demanded. When Mother dared to ask if I would ever be using it to make toast, I scoffed loudly and said, "It deserves a lot more than that." She didn't seem to understand. They'll never understand. The end.
I bought the wrong fucking toaster.
About the author.
You need a mercy.
Dick Thumper writes explicit stories out of his parents' basement about the kinds of things his dad and mom have yet to catch him doing. When he's not lusting over household objects, Dick can be found in any number of MMORPG worlds. His parents continue to support him at the time of writing, but have stressed that if he continues to remain unemployed, they would be forced to take action. Pricks.
He had that story about the fairies with the penises.
Yeah.